Welcome to Famous People, English Stories. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
Introduction. This is the story of Daniel Reed, a young man with big dreams. He started with almost nothing. But he believed in himself. He worked hard, stayed focused, and step by step reached the top. This is a story of passion, struggle, and success. This is a story of career success. Now, let's begin with Chapter 1. Chapter 1, The First Step. Daniel Reed was born in a small town called Fairhaven. It was quiet, peaceful, and far from big cities. His family was simple. His father was a mechanic. His mother worked in a bakery. They didn't have much money, but they had something better: love, values, and strong support for each other. Daniel was always curious. He loved to ask questions. How does this work? Why do people do that? He liked to read. He liked to learn. One day, when Daniel was 12 years old, he saw a video on the internet. It was about a man who built a company from nothing. That man was Steve Jobs. Daniel watched the video again and again. He felt something inside him. I want to build something too, he thought. I want to do something great. That night, he told his mother, "Mom, I want to do something big in life." She smiled and said, "Then start small, my son. Every big tree starts as a tiny seed." From that day, Daniel started dreaming. He wanted to become someone who created value. Someone who solved problems. When he was 15, he got his first part-time job. He worked at a local grocery store. He cleaned floors, packed bags, and helped customers. It wasn't easy. But he learned a lot. He learned to be polite. He learned to be patient. He learned that every job has value. And every skill matters. After school, he would go to the library. He read books about business, computers, and successful people. He wrote notes in a small notebook. He called it My Career Map. On weekends, he tried small projects. He fixed old computers for neighbors. He built a simple website for a bakery. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. By the time he finished high school, Daniel had saved some money. Not much, but enough for a new laptop. He also had a clear dream. He wanted to study business and technology. His parents couldn't afford a big college. But Daniel applied for scholarships. He wrote a strong essay about his journey, his dreams, and his desire to learn. One day, he received an email. "Congratulations! You have been awarded a full scholarship to the State Business and Technology Institute." He ran to his parents and shouted, "I got it! I got the scholarship!" They hugged him, tears in their eyes. It was a proud moment. Daniel packed his bags, said goodbye to Fairhaven, and moved to the city. A new chapter was about to begin. A chapter full of challenges and full of opportunities. But this was just the first step in the journey of his career success. Chapter 2, New World, New Challenges. Daniel stepped off the bus and looked around. Tall buildings, busy streets, honking cars. Everything felt fast and loud. This was the city. This was where his new life would begin. He took a deep breath. He was nervous, but excited. I'm here now, he thought. No turning back. His college, the State Business and Technology Institute, was huge. It had modern classrooms, a big library, and students from all over the country. Daniel felt small, but he also felt ready. The first few weeks were hard. His classes were difficult. His roommates were noisy. He missed his family. He missed Fairhaven. But he remembered his mother's words. Every big tree starts as a tiny seed. So Daniel stayed focused. He sat in the front row. He asked questions. He studied late at night. He made a schedule and followed it. Slowly, things started to get better. One day, in his business class, a guest speaker came to visit. Her name was Ms. Elena Park. She was a successful entrepreneur. She shared her story. How she started with one small idea and turned it into $1 million company. Daniel listened carefully. At the end of the talk, he walked up to her. Miss Park, your story inspired me, he said. I want to build something too. Do you have any advice? She smiled. Start small. Find a real problem. And try to solve it, step by step. That's how every business begins. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her words. Find a real problem. Try to solve it. The next day, he walked around the campus. He looked at students, teachers, staff. Everyone was busy, tired, rushing. Then, he noticed something. The school's online system was old and slow. Students always complained about it. There's the problem, Daniel thought. Now, can I solve it? He didn't know how to build a software system yet. But he was learning. So he started talking to people. He asked students what they wanted. He asked teachers what they needed. He wrote everything down. Then, he found 2 classmates. One was good at coding. The other at design. Let's build something better, Daniel said. Let's create a student app. That's fast, simple, and useful. They agreed. Together, the 3 of them worked every night. They skipped parties. They stayed in the library. They tested ideas. They failed many times. But they didn't stop. After 4 months, they had a working version. It was simple, but it worked. They showed it to a professor. She liked it. She showed it to the dean. He liked it too. Soon, the college started using their app. As a test with one department. Daniel and his team were thrilled. People began to notice them. Some students asked, "Can we use this at other colleges too?" That was the moment Daniel realized. This was more than just a project. It could be a business. He and his team gave the app a name. ClassLink. They created a small website. They explained what the app could do. And soon, other schools showed interest. But things weren't perfect. They still had classes. They had no money. They had no office. And they still had much to learn. But Daniel was not afraid. He knew success would not come quickly. It would take time, effort, and patience. He remembered his first job, mopping floors in the grocery store. He remembered the lessons he learned there. He smiled and thought, if I could start from there and reach here, who knows how far I can go? Daniel was just getting started, and the ladder of success was waiting for him to climb higher. Chapter 3: The Leap of Faith. ClassLink is live at 2 colleges now. Daniel could hardly believe it. His small idea, born from late-night talks and long library hours, was now helping real students. But success brought new problems. They had more users. They needed better servers. They needed faster support. And most of all, they needed money. Daniel and his 2 friends sat in the campus cafe, staring at their laptops. Everything was growing too fast. We can't handle this alone anymore, said Michael, the coder. We need help, said Priya, the designer. Daniel nodded. He agreed. But hiring people cost money. And they didn't have much. One evening, Daniel saw a poster on the college wall. Startup Challenge, win $20,000 in mentorship. It was a business pitch contest for student entrepreneurs. This could be it, he thought. That money could take ClassLink to the next level. He applied immediately. His team worked day and night on the pitch. They built a short video. They practiced their presentation. They improved the app one last time. The day of the competition arrived. Daniel stood on a big stage. Bright lights. Big screen. Judges. His hands were shaking. But then he looked at the audience. Students, teachers, strangers. And he remembered why he started. He took a deep breath and spoke clearly. We created ClassLink because students deserve tools that actually work. Our app saves time, reduces stress, and brings schools into the future. We're not just building an app. We're building a better student experience. The room went silent. Then, applause. Later that night, the results came in. ClassLink had won first prize. $20,000. Mentorship from a top tech company. Office space at a student startup incubator. Daniel called his parents. Mom. Dad. We did it. We won. His father said, I'm proud of you, son. His mother whispered, this is only the beginning. Now, things got serious. The team registered their company. They opened a bank account. They hired 2 more developers, both students. They rented a small office, just 3 blocks from campus. Each day, after classes, they worked until midnight. Weekends were full of meetings, updates, and testing. But not everything was smooth. Sometimes the app would crash. Sometimes users would complain. Sometimes Daniel felt tired, lost, and unsure. One Friday evening, he stayed late at the office. He looked around at the empty chairs. The air was quiet. He sat back, thinking, what if we fail? What if no one uses it in a year? He opened his notebook, his old career map. The pages were full of dreams, ideas, goals. And one line stood out. Fear is normal. Quitting is not. Daniel smiled. He closed the book. Then he got back to work. By the end of the year, ClassLink was being used in 5 colleges. The team was invited to speak at a young entrepreneur event. Daniel gave a short talk, and afterward, a man in a suit walked up to him. "I'm Raj Mehta, a venture capitalist," he said. "I think your app has big potential. Let's talk." It was the first time someone with serious money had shown real interest. Daniel was careful. He met with Raj. He asked questions. He talked with his team. Then they made a decision. They accepted a small investment. Not too big, not too risky. With that money, they expanded. Better features. More support staff. And, finally, their first paid contract. With a private university. Daniel had taken a leap of faith. From a small-town boy to a tech founder. He had jumped into the unknown. Now, his feet were still moving. But his dream was finally taking shape. He still had fears. He still made mistakes. But every day, he got stronger. Every day, he climbed higher. And every day, he remembered. It all started with a small idea and a big belief. Chapter 4: Staying True. ClassLink was growing fast. In just 2 years, Daniel and his team had turned a college project into a rising tech startup. Their app was used in over 20 schools. They had 12 full-time employees. And now, investors were calling them every week. Everyone was impressed. Everyone said, "You're on the path to big success." But with growth came pressure. More meetings. More contracts. More stress. Daniel often stayed at the office late. He didn't visit home as often. He barely had time to sleep. One morning, during a team meeting, Priya, the designer, looked upset. "We're moving too fast," she said. "We're losing our focus." Michael added, "Yeah. We used to care about helping students. Now it feels like we only care about deals and downloads." Daniel was silent. They were right. He looked around. He saw tired eyes. He saw tension. Something had changed. That evening, Daniel walked alone to the campus. It was quiet. He sat on a bench near the library. The same one where ClassLink was first imagined. He remembered their goal: to make student life better. Not just faster. Not just bigger. Better. He opened his old notebook again. A line from the second page made him pause. Never trade purpose for popularity. He closed his eyes and thought. What are we doing now? Are we chasing numbers? Or are we solving problems? The next day, Daniel called a meeting. Everyone came in, expecting more deadlines. But Daniel stood and said, "We need to stop and think. Are we still building what we believe in?" There was silence. Then Priya said softly, "I've been waiting to hear that." Together, they reviewed their entire product. They removed flashy features that didn't help students. They added tools for better time management, mental health resources, and direct feedback from users. The app became simpler, but more useful. A few investors didn't like the change. One even pulled out. "You're not scaling fast enough," he said. But Daniel didn't panic. He replied, "We're not here to scale without meaning. We're here to serve real needs." Soon after, something surprising happened. A national education blog published a story. The startup that chose values over hype. That article went viral. More teachers, parents, and students began to trust them. Their user base grew organically. Slow but strong. One afternoon, Daniel received an email. It was from a school principal in Kenya. She wrote, "We read your story. Our school has very few resources. Could we use ClassLink here too?" Daniel read it twice. Then, without hesitation, he replied, "Yes. We'll make it happen." The team created a special version of the app that worked with limited internet. They translated parts of it. And within 3 months, ClassLink was being used in 3 schools across Africa. Daniel stood in his office one evening, watching the sun set through the window. He wasn't wearing a suit. He wasn't at some fancy business party. But he felt proud. Because success was no longer just about growth. It was about impact. And he knew. He hadn't just built a company. He had built something that mattered. That night, he wrote in his notebook, "Success is not only what you build. It's what you protect while building it." Chapter 5: The Real Win. For years had passed since Daniel first dreamed of building something. From a quiet boy in Fairhaven to the CEO of a growing tech company, he had come a long way. ClassLink was now used in over 100 schools in 3 countries. It had helped more than 200,000 students. Daniel's team had grown too. 25 people now worked with him. Some were developers. Some were support staff. Others were trainers helping schools learn the system. Daniel was still working hard. But he had also learned to rest. He visited his family every 2 months. He started mentoring young entrepreneurs. He even taught a part-time class at his old college. How to build a purpose-driven business. Then, one afternoon, something happened that would test everything he believed in. He received an email. Subject: Acquisition Offer. It was from a major tech company. One of the biggest in the world. They wanted to buy ClassLink. The offer? $25 million. Daniel froze. $25 million. He stared at the screen. His heart was racing. This was more money than he had ever imagined. He called Michael and Priya. They were shocked too. "If we accept," Michael said, "we'll be rich. We could do anything we want." "But what happens to ClassLink?" Priya asked. Daniel had the same question. The big company promised to keep the product alive. But they wanted to change some things. They would merge it with other tools. They would remove some of the features Daniel's team had worked so hard to build. And most importantly, Daniel would no longer be in charge. For the next week, he couldn't sleep. He thought about all the years of work, all the nights at the office, the long talks, The first version of the app. The schools in Kenya. His mother's words. Start small, my son. But stay true. Then he thought about the money. He could buy a house. Help his parents retire. Travel the world. But something didn't feel right. On a quiet Sunday morning, Daniel drove to Fairhaven. He sat with his father in the garage. He told him everything. His father wiped his hands and said, "Son, money is a tool. But purpose? That's a compass. It keeps you going in the right direction." Daniel nodded. He had his answer. The next day, he wrote a letter to the big company. He thanked them for the offer, but said he had to say no. Because ClassLink wasn't just a business. It was a mission. A mission to serve students. To build tools that helped people, not just profits. And that mission still needed him. Some people said he was foolish. Who says no to that much money? But Daniel wasn't sad. In fact, he felt free. Now, he and his team focused on something new. Training students to build their own tech solutions. They opened a program called Code to Lead. It taught high school students from small towns how to think like creators. Daniel visited classrooms, gave talks, and told his story. Not to brag, but to remind young people that anyone, from anywhere, can build something that matters. One day, after giving a talk, a shy student walked up to him. "I want to make an app one day too," she said. Daniel smiled and replied, "You will. Start small. Stay curious. And never forget why you started." That night, Daniel sat by his window. The stars were out. He opened his old notebook one last time. On the final page, he wrote, "Success is not measured in dollars, but in the lives you touch. I didn't sell my company, but I built something I'll never lose." He closed the book and smiled. Because in the end, Daniel hadn't just climbed the ladder of success. He had helped others climb too. And that was the real win. Did you enjoy Daniel's journey to success? If this story inspired you and helped you learn English, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who's chasing their dreams too. Every week, we bring you real, clear, and powerful English stories to help you grow your language and your mindset. Listen, learn, level up. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story. And remember, your story is just beginning. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep believing.